and I am delighted here to be present today at the International Conference on Temple Art, Architecture and Sciences, and the title of the presentation is Diaspora of Devotion, Tantric Shaivism and Sacred Symbolism in Wooden Nepali Temples of Northern India. This study is co-authored by Dr. Kamini Sinha, and together we explored how sacred wooden temple architecture rooted in Mewar Tantric traditions has traveled and transferred across geographies, particularly in sites like Hajipur and Varanasi. As my recent speaker has, we have discussed about how there is so much talk and misconceptions about Mewar, about the Tantrism and all. So I think I would be able to put in some light regarding it, which would be able to help us understand that Tantrism, or the word tantric, is not what in general we feel that it is related to all the negative aspects of it. But so let's dive deep into it. So here in this particular slide in the image, this is an iceberg metaphor, as we all know, which frames this study. So above the water are the visible forms, like in the 18th and 19th century wooden temples built by Nepali kings migrating to the northern India. But below, as you see, lies a deeper layer as to how Tantric cosmology was embedded in their built form. This was made possible by Mewar artisans and priests who carried not only the craftsmanship but ritual knowledge. Hence, our study looks at both material architecture and the intangible practices that give them life and meaning. So here, as you see in this image, the map shows the migration of the artisans and the spiritual network from Nepal to northern India, establishing the temples in Hajipur and Varanasi, mostly taking the influence or taking the learnings from the traditional Pashupatinath temple in Nepal, as we all know. So not just architectural transfers, these were not just architectural transfers, but the flows of sacred knowledge and ritual cosmology. So this is what we have. So in the first image, the first image is the Pashupatinath temple. The number 2 one is again the Nepali temple, which is a 5-tiered, you can see one of the tallest Nepali architecture is in Bhaktapur. The third image you see is the Hajipur, Bihar, Nepali temple in Hajipur, Bihar, and the fourth one that you see is the Nepali temple in Varanasi. So these are the 4 case studies that we have taken to understand this concept. And the major, the 6-fold objectives was to understand how symbolic and architectural elements transmit Nepali tantric traditions. Second one is to decode how esoteric rituals are embedded in the structures. The third one was to identify adaptive strategies in diaspora temples. The fourth one was to compare the 4 case study sites to understand how they have adapted and how it has varied, the structural element, the architectural elements, how they have changed in these different sites, and to situate these temples as a living cosmograms, and finally to advocate for holistic conservation, including tangible heritage. So if we talk about how did we go about the methodology, so it was a 4-fold methodology, which was majorly, it incorporated both qualitative and quantitative aspect of it. The qualitative aspect was majorly taken from the textual sources like Brahmamala and Mewar's Sthapati manuals. Architectural field documentation was done to understand the layouts, in iconography and the joinery details. The third aspect was ethnographic interviews with the priests and devotees, and the historical contextualization through literature and reports. So generally, we doing the literature study and the field documentation, we majorly try to understand what was the core concept, if you talk about tantric traditions, so-called in the temple architecture. So the temple were basically, as we have multiple presentations, we have talked about iconography, the symbolism in architecture, and how we have we use as Vastu Purush Mandala for temple planning and all. So here, when you look at these particular temples, tantric traditions right now also to worship. So these are functional cosmograms encoding ritual paths and energy flows. Like how what will be the deciding factor as to what would be the length level of a temple. Like if you visit a temple and if you see that the deity is lying at a very at the ground level, and somewhere in the Garbhoggriha you will see that it has been raised to a certain 2 feet or 3 feet or whatever height it is. Everything has a meaning, not with respect to the Tantrism, but with respect to how the cosmology is aligned, what is the numerology, what is the importance of energy that is that has been a part of the temple planning and the way it will be worshipped. And the joinery angles, if you see that there are the roofing style, the struts on which the angled or the 5 tiers are supported, those struts will be joining the roof structure at a particular angle. So generally that is a 54-degree angle which matches with the Sri Yantra geometry, and axis mundi of Shivlinga which anchors the mystical alignment of that. The layouts that follows mandalas like Sarvatobhadra, while the wood itself was understood as a pran, thus architecture itself becomes a spiritual path towards liberation. And if you see the 3 main, I would say, ideas of selection of the criteria for selection and justification was that the Pashupatinath temple, as it is a canonical UNESCO heritage site, the second one, if you see here, the first one was the Pashupatinath temple that we have already discussed. The second one was at the Bhaktapur temple, which has Shakta Tantric monument dedicated to Siddhi Lakshmi, the Hajipur temple which has hybrid and tantric expression, and the fourth one was Varanasi, which is diasporic extension of Kathmandu's Tantric Shaivism. It embeds Himalayan esotericism through Kashi's ritual geography. The 3 main reasons was to select these sites were historic authenticity and Nepali royal patronage. Second was architectural integrity and preserving the Mewar craftsmanship. And the third one was continuity or adaptation of Tantric Shaiva practices in their spatial and symbolic programs. So now let's see that how these symbolism and architectural features are embedded in all these temples. So first we see that at the Pashupatinath temple, it is called as an architectural source code in our literature. Why? Because the layout, if we see, follows the Sarvatobhadra, which is a 4-phase symmetrical plan, which is prescribed in Brahmamala textual reference, which embodies Shiva as an axis mundi. Means it is a vertical alignment which emphasizes that the energy starts from the bottom और पूरा नाड़ी को क्रॉस करते हुए आप ऊपर the energy flows from the bottom to the topmost part. जैसे हम योगा में भी अपनी नाड़ियों को या इंद्रियों को जागृत करने की कोशिश करते हैं, similar philosophy has been adapted. And we talk about, if you see look at the structure of the Pashupatinath temple, it's a 2-tiered copper gilt roofing which is elaborately carved struts, which is called as tunas, and the toranas, which are the doorways, and highly detailed door frames, as you can also see in some of the pictures we will see later. And if you talk about material purity, then sal and deodar, which were the trees which was used to carve and to make these temples, these were also these were taken from the sacred Tarakeshwar forests present there, and the entire dimensions were focused on the golden proportion was used to design these temples. And if you look at the very interesting aspect was the interlocking joinery system. Like the Mewar craftsmanship that I am telling again and again is basically because it was 100% nail free, and all the joineries were mortise and tenon based, which is also called as a Tukiyappa or a Dachiyappa in the local language. And it also ensures seismic resilience and aligns with Brahmimala's cosmic metaphors as well. And if you see the beam articulation, you will see 72 nadi serpent network central to tantric physiology. जैसे हम शिव जी की जब भी वर्शिप करते हैं आप देखते हैं तो हमेशा उनमें जो सर्प है वो लिपटा हुआ होता है, पर हमने कभी ये ध्यान नहीं दिया कि वो जो जितने टर्न्स वो लेता है हमेशा 2.5 होते हैं, ऑलवेज 2.5. So that comes from some of the inspiration comes from there, and everything has a meaning to that. We won't go deeper into it. If you look into iconography and tantric symbolism in Pashupatinath temple, so as I told that 72 naga struts symbolizes the 72,000 nadis which are present. The solar alignment, like we have also talked about कि हमेशा जो alignment है हमारी देवी देवताओं का, उसका हमेशा सूर्योदय से और सूर्य के किस तरफ प्लेस किया जाएगा, ईशान कोण की जब हम बात करते हैं वास्तुशास्त्र में, all these things we have already studied. So the west facing Bhairava shrine, the fans which are aligned to the summer solstice sunset, which is tend to symbolize कि वो हमारी जो कुंडलिनी शक्ति का एक्टिवेशन है उसको दर्शाता है. So that is the second point. Then you see, we have seen that we were discussing the Maithuna iconography of the sensual couples that are also embedded carved in the Khajuraho temple. Similarly, as one of the presenter was also saying कि अर्धनारेश्वर की जब हम पूजा करते हैं तो शिव और शक्ति का समागम का जो है हम उस चीज़ की वर्शिप करते हैं. It's not about only a part of life that is depicted, but it has a deeper meaning to it, which जिसको हम संस्कृत में हिंदी में अद्वैत भी बोलते हैं. उसकी क्या बोलना चाहिए, उसकी पूजा करने के लिए या उसको और इम्पोर्टेंस देने के लिए these represent that as the symbolism aspect of it. And the last presenter also said that fierce deities की पूजा की जाती है जबलपुर में, ये जो योगिनी देवी की हम बात कर रहे थे. Similarly, if you see here, if you look at the carvings in detail, we would see Bhairava, Mahishasurdahini, Yoginis and Ganesha to manifest the protective and the transformative aspect of it. तो उसका तंत्र से उसका सीधा रिश्ता नहीं है, उसका है कि आप जब आप आते हैं तो the kind of feeling that you get that okay, there is a power in it, you have a lot of energy, you feel the energy when you enter such temples. It's not a negative energy, but again it's a very personal experience. But the idea of designing was not to fear people, but to symbolize the energy that you are worshipping. So in different forms, these deities represented different all these 4 case study temples that we will see further when we see the comparative analysis of them. And the hidden rituals, again a very interesting thing. When we see detailed carvings in the struts and in the columns, you will see that in the Garbhagriha, the struts have beach mantras, seed syllables carved into these load bearings. So again, this inculcates the idea behind how this temple has been, the architectural features have been incorporated in such temples. The second one was the Neptula Bhaktapur temple that I was talking about, which is the 5-tiered pagoda, and again which is approximately 30 meters, making it the tallest traditional pagoda, and the 5 pairs of guardians that are reflected in the entrances of these temples are based on the power hierarchy principle of Kalachara Tantric systems. And the joinery, basically again the Newar joinery systems remain highly precise, facilitating both structural and the encoded geometry. And I think so if you look at this Bhaktapur symbolism aspect, we will see that how this geometric struts alignment have the multiples of 108, because 108 की बहुत importance है जब हम इसकी बात करते हैं या rituals की बात करते हैं. So 108 is a very important number. So it again reflects the Mala Mantra count in Lakshmi Tantra and reflecting cosmological completeness. I think let's see if we see this comparative chart, it would be more interesting and easy for us to understand. Like if we complexes are, yes, just 2 minutes and I'll wind up. So basically in this, if I sum up in one line, we can see that the symbolism aspect, like the 72 Naga struts in Kathmandu, the geometric abstraction in Dakshapur, the Yaksha gardens in Hajipur, or the lunar carvings in Varanasi, despite these variations, all were preserved a shared framework adapting to local realities while retaining the metaphysical essence. Like if you will see that the joinery details were, the rituals were very different. Like if you see, initially it was Aghori Puja, then in the Bhaktapur temple there was secret Siddha Lakshmi Puja, and here if you see that when we talk about this iconography, then we see that this the Machina pairs were very explicit in the Kathmandu temple, whereas when we move towards the Hajipur and the Varanasi temples, it became very milder or the modest form of it because of cultural aspect, because of the different aspects, and also the material that was used. You can see the construction material also changed because of the climatic aspect. It was different in the Sal and Devdar, then in Naptola it was brick core and sal timber, then Sagon for this, and the Nepali temple used the sal and mango wood. So basically this is the comparative analysis makes us understand that the material constraints acted as catalysts for innovation. Local wood replaced Himalayan sal, joinery was simplified but retained the tantric logic, ventilation gaps in Varanasi created ritual acoustics, the serpent counts were compressed, yet esoteric code was endured, the metaphysical skeleton of tantric architecture remained intact. The conservation challenges that we face. While Pashupatinath enjoys UNESCO's support, diaspora temples in Hajipur and Varanasi remain vulnerable. Timber decay, loss of orally transmitted rights, and lack of heritage recognition undermine them. What is needed is integrated conservation, safeguarding both tangible material and intangible ritual practices so that the temples do not survive as empty shells. This study shows that Nepali tantric wooden temples, whether in Kathmandu or in diaspora, function as living ritual architecture, not as static monuments. Despite regional variations, they retain the metaphysical principles through adaptive craftsmanship and preserved ritual sequences. Their survival depends on holistic conservation that protects both the tangible form and the intangible knowledge. So this ends this study where we try to ensure that the dynamic vessel of cosmology is retained in all the 4 case study temples. Thank you.